Good evening. You are listening live to the Extreme Movie Show. I am your host, Rob, broadcasting to you from the Pine Hills Palace, just west of Orlando, Florida. I am tongue-tied here in the Extreme Studios, just west of Orlando, Florida, because I've got RDV on the phone for me, and I had to scramble because, ladies and gentlemen, the Forever Night crossover episode is next week on Miami Vice, so I apologize to everybody. I had to get this up to date. Miami Vice Season 1, Episode 11, Little Prince. Carlos Esposito does a cameo at the beginning. We've got heroin. We've got Polo and RDV. I'm just going to be blunt with you. I love Miami Vice. This episode's the worst of the bunch to me, and I'm just going to say it like this. I don't have a problem with Daddy Didn't Love Me episodes of things because it's always Daddy's fault. It's always the man's fault. And I certainly don't have zero issues with Polo in it because I know people that have played highlight and other stuff here in Florida. But when it comes down to it, you got to ask yourself, is an episode worthy? Does it really stand up for anything? The only thing I could say about this episode is that there is a scene I'm going to mention here when we get about halfway, 2/3 through, of Castillo starting to turn into Dick Castillo, which is great Castillo. And I'll mention that.
Yes.
Otherwise, it's a pretty forgettable episode, minus the synth wavy kind of score. Right, that's very quiet, very routine. There's really not much to it that stands out to me. What about you?
So this feels like a filler episode. You're right. It doesn't feel like it's one of the better episodes. It has a bunch of nobodies except for Giancarlo Esposito, who would return throughout the season, as two other characters. This is the first of his three characters he played on the show. This is the one that lived.
Heroin dealer.
But also we started out with "Relax" by Frankie. Oh, is that fantastic?
Club version mix, yeah.
With the chase scene and everything we get here. We also in the middle episode when they're doing surveillance, Autograph. Turn off the radio.
Yep.
One of my favorite 80s songs. And just fits so well with this. But yeah, this is pretty much Daddy's controlling. Daddy wants it. He has our housemaid, or she's assistant. She's running the drug deals for me because he can't be associated with that riffraff, and son is upset because his dad's very controlling, starts doing drugs himself. And the only reason they know about this because this Stephen Baldwin lookalike ends up being at the drug house where, everyone is getting shoot up with heroin stuff because Judy, in the very beginning of this episode, as well as start with our first slide here, get this going. She's pretending to be all strung out, and she needs a hit. She's there with Gina, and they come across Giancarlo Esposito, who, like I said, is like, holy crap, the hair, man. And he's skinny, he's in shape, he's probably like mid-20s here, maybe even early 30s. Because a lot of us only know him from Breaking Bad. There's the Chicken Man.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So she's all strung out, and so undercover, Zito and Switek are supposed to watch them, things happen, and
he suggests they go back to his crib, and she's like,
"Yeah,
you're the police." Yeah. He's like, "No, I'm not." And he does the finger under the eye, pointing to the ear, because that means he's a part of a gang. I mean,
yeah. What's great about this is that he steals the whole entire episode. That's why I said he's a thumbnail, because everything else doesn't matter. This is Giancarlo Esposito's first appearance on Miami Vice. His debut, I don't know if his debut is acting or at least gives his recognition. That's probably what opened the doors for him, because he came back twice because he was such a great character.
I think it'd be a bigger part of the show.
So Switek and Zito basically were supposed to go follow them, but their van doesn't start. They have to run back. They call Tubbs and Crockett, who are waiting in his Ferrari, and says, "Well, hey, we lost the girls." And Tubbs is starting shaking a little bit because, this is the second time that the Zito and Switek have lost, an informant or a person.
Mm-hmm.
The previous episode when they're in the glades.
Yes.
So they end up running down this former stringer, guy. If we basically know, if anybody knows where Cook is, they run him down. They chase him down with the car, and then he's running up. I love it. This little easily. He goes up a ladder. Tubbs grabs him, spins him off the ladder like mid run, and throws him on the ground. And within 2 seconds, he gives up the location. The girls are already inside the place here with Gus Fringe, Taco Man, or the Chicken Man, or Giancarlo Esposito in here. And they're both. He's got the drugs. He's gonna hook him up in exchange for sex. And they get in the room with him, and they pull their guns on him, and they basically say, "Everybody freeze." And then at the very next second, we have the boys coming in, not Zuido and Switek. It's Tubbs and Crockett coming in, and they bust everybody except for one guy who basically tries to run and jumps out the window, not knowing that there's no fire escape there, and splats. Even Crockett makes the joke, but it's like, no fire escape. Don't worry. What's crazy about this, as an opening scene there, when the guy's running towards the you can see the green screen behind him, the window for a brief second. Yeah, so this leads them, basically they run into this Daniel Baldwin, or it's not Daniel Baldwin, Stephen Baldwin lookalike guy.
Some Baldwin guy.
Oh my gosh, he does.
Not quite as good as the Scars guard.
And they're about to get him to lean on his friends, and suddenly this rich people's lawyer comes in and says, "Nope, come here. We got a judge order. You're gone." Tubbs make a comment about, "Oh, if you're rich and yuppie, you know what? You get to walk free. You skip, So they cut to the boy, who looks like Stephen frickin' Baldwin. Literally, if he needed a stunt double, this is him. And he's strung out on coke stuff. His the housekeeper, Mary, comes in, talks to him, soothes to him. And he goes out, talks to his dad, and his dad's pretty much, giving him this shit, Here's
the thing with this scene. I want to point something out. I thought this could have been a lot more interesting in that, one, you're not sympathetic to this kid doing drugs because daddy didn't love him. And, we'll talk about how the ending actually occurs, when we get to it. The dad's basically built up as this evil, like, rich finance dude, bro, who's basically insider trading. So basically he's doing the books at a high level for a lot of drug dealers, allegedly. And so his son's, obviously sensitive, and he's a good looking guy. He's he's at the polo park and all that too. But dad's like, "Hey, look, for the strings I had to pull, this is what's got to happen. You guys serve your 6 months, but we can wait till you finish your semester of school. Things going to be thrown out." You know what? In the real world, we call that a good deal because the guy has connections, right? And as we'll find out later in the episode, the kid's really the least of this guy's worries as far as shit he's into. You know what I'm saying?
So, and here we get the POS father. It literally looks like he stepped off from some kind of 1970s soap opera, or In the Heat of the Night, a random extra. He's just he's just a yuppie at this point. That's what he is. He's an NPC. If you're playing GTA,
and nobody liked yuppies down here in Florida. Like, you come up north on spring break, you come to Daytona, you come to wherever. The hell with you guys. You're flaunting that money. I was really questioning the validity of the guy being strung out wearing his slacks and polo, and when everyone else has got jeans and
and that's the thing. This actor here, like I said, when I first watched this, I said, this guy's gay. And looking it up, we find out he actually is a gay actor. And it's the way he dressed. Guys don't dress normally that way. I'm sorry. Even if you're rich.
Well, yuppies dress kind of like he did.
Yes, but we've seen yuppies where they dress, where we see them like, the alphas, in Revenge of the Nerds, how Jefferson, would wear that stuff. But you could tell they have a masculine aura around them. This guy was pretty much getting high and stuff, but just the way he walks and he acts, he responds. I don't know, my gator went off. Okay. We're allowed to say that, but whatever. So basically, so she's been handling Mary has been handling his dad's stuff. And she's also become like a mother to him, after the mother had died. And basically the dad has one more deal and stuff. He wants to do it. He wants to, do this and get out of it and stuff. And so the word gets around that they've been seeing there's like a warehouse down there stuff, and Chubbs and Crockett kind of check out this area in the seedy area over there because they identified a phone call. There was a train station there, or train in the background. So they go there. This is where we get to see Tubbs walks up to this guy, the hot dog dealer, with his little golden retriever, who he talks to back and forth, golden retriever. And, and Tubbs is like, have you seen anything in here? He's like, well, yeah, there's this green van. It keeps going over by this warehouse over here, frequently a lot over here.
A lot of hot dog vendors in this episode.
Dude, I want a hot dog, man.
Where there's no foot traffic to support the amount of money you would need to turn over a profitable enterprise in hot dog vendors. Trust me.
I love he makes even a joke. He's like, "Well, I could have been a billionaire if I would have done the pretzel thing, but I said no." But,
You know, I actually kind of like this episode being a little toned down as far as like a spy and almost espionage type thing where they're just doing footwork and everything. Like, there's a foot chase in
like
here.
the Greg McCarthy, they sneak in the boat. I love that stuff. So they sneak. Tubbs goes into the warehouse, goes in there, sliding door. I love it. And he goes in there, basically starts finding it, and he finds drugs in there.
Finds a half a pallet of cocaine.
Mm-hmm.
This guy, I don't know, was it coke or was it heroin? I just always assume coke.
It's cocaine, heroin, same thing to me. It's white powder.
I think when they said it, it was like a lot of money back then, which would be a huge amount today.
Yeah,
like over 100 million today.
That's what it says here.
Yeah.
Okay. So back then it was worth $75 million, but they said, in according to last year, it'd be $230 million worth of that, according to the wiki.
Jesus.
I know, right?
Wow.
So he killed Castillo.
It's not even watched or guarded as a cheap lock on it that Tubbs picks, because of course he still knows how to pick locks now. We get to see that. And I do like how Crockett and Tubbs are split up for a chunk of this episode. Not one's running down this alleyway, one's running down the other one, right? They're splitting up doing some different things for the moment. I kind of like this a little bit, it's interesting. I'm not going to say it's fun, but it's different. I'm like, okay, let's let this breathe. Let's let it marinate. Let's see what happens here in the final act. Maybe they tie it together or whatever. Yeah. But they set up surveillance is really pretty much the big thing.
And this I like this because this is back in the 80s. You're allowed to. There was no HR, so when Switek and Zito are watching through the binoculars, they get all this takeout. They leave the garbage there. So it's time for the girls to come take over, and the girls are kind of put off because they have a pull-out centerfold, a pin-up of a girl on the wall, and so they fold it down and they do stuff. And as soon as it's time for the boys to come back, poster goes back up, and it's kind of I like the little tip they had back there. It wasn't no like, oh my gosh, you're calling your pig or disgusting. They didn't say that stuff. They were respectful, and so while this is going on, I think the music here actually picked this whole scene, because you have Autograph playing, Turn Up the Radio. For me, it's one of my, as I said, it's one of my favorite 80s songs. Come on. I do turn up the radio when that's on. It's just a fantastic song. And it's a song that should be a Def Leppard, but it's not a Def Leppard. It's just a weird, random, one-hit wonder.
People in the 80s emphasized a couple things besides electronic drums. And if you were trying to get around 3 minutes, 33 seconds for AOR, album-oriented rock, as they would call it, to get played, because if you're a long song or too short, you almost wouldn't get played. It really came down to the chorus after the bridge. So it was verse, chorus, or bridge or whatever. And then here you can see how layered that thing is too. It's like out of the Beatles or the Beach Boys or Styx or a lot of the bands that have these huge harmonies. And that song definitely had it. Very, very poppy, catchy song.
And it's the second song they use in this where it actually has a long kind of like a track of it playing through like a couple scenes. They did that with Relax. They did with Autograph. So it's not they just play like a little blurt and that's it. No, they play it. It goes on for like a good thing. It's almost like a montage scene. Like you'd have clothes and they have the music playing in the background.
Well, it made me feel like the last part of the episode was going to pick up a bit, because it had been very kind of quiet and subdued, which is okay, because like I say, when you watch a Miami Vice episode, to me, especially when there's not a lot of dialogue and everything, and you kind of get suckered into it, because it's like I say, if you're familiar at all with Florida, you can feel that you're there, the heat, the humidity, how disgusting it can be for 6 months of the year and the outside, but there's just this natural beauty to it. The cast has great chemistry. The ladies, we see them a lot. We see Ziegler and Switek. This actually is one of the first episodes, despite to me not being a very entertaining one, where you get to see kind of the template of what's going to happen more, where everybody gets a chance to do something in here, rather than just Ziegler and Switek here or the ladies.
Yes.
And now it's everybody, including Castillo.
It's a team effort, and it's not as corny as Team Arrow or Team Flash or Buffy. It's actually, this is before the whole Joss Whedon made it all about teams. This was actually just played out pretty well.
Let's talk about Tubbs.
I'll just say real quickly. Back then, and especially Miami Vice, Switek and Zito would sometimes only be in credit only. Same with Judy, and they would have been in the episode. I don't know what happened to the shows, but all of a sudden, like, people are just, they have to have every single actor you see on a show has to be in every episode now. So they do a stakeout there, and they finally see a green van pulls up. They go inside the warehouse. These two goons are out there standing guard. So Zito and Slytech come tend to be like guys coming from a polo or workout, whatever, and like, hey, what's up? And I love this because like back in the day, you could walk by someone, you say, hey, what's going on? You'd be polite. You'd say hello to someone. Yeah. So I love this scene. And they walk past him, and the guys are like, hey, whatever, because they're about to pull their guns, but they realize these guys don't care. So Zito and Slytech just turn around and spin. It's like whoosh, freeze. And like, now be quiet, because they want to go. Inside you have Mary in there with this guy who pretty much, I don't have a scene of it, but who looks like Ben Stiller from
Yes,
he was.
Mad mutton chops.
With the mad mutton chops, the green suit, your Kenny Rogers, everybody who has 70s, man. Everyone has like the big beards, and they have the dark sunglasses and everything. I was just like
from Christine. That's like the whole template for it for me.
So just as these guys are getting ready to leave, after doing the deal and stuff, the pound stuff, the barn door slides open, because that's basically what it is. I love those sliding doors. And who's out there? All the cops. They're like, oh shit. So Mary ends up going running in the car with Tubbs, and it's kind of like in question here and stuff, and she's kind of giving a run around. They go down to the station. Eventually her bail is posted by the dad, by Mark Sr., and he pretty much has his son pick her up, and they're in the car, and this is Mary right here. Very nice. This is one of the things that killed me the most. Mary's been actually the most nicest person she is. She's not a cutthroat. She doesn't belittle his son. She's been like the Mary Poppins who also does drug deals. And what's gonna happen, because the dad has to distance himself for that. And the son's like, well, yeah, my dad's gonna have you send you back to your apartment. And she's like, well, that's smart, distance herself from the thing, because he can't get involved with this and stuff, blah blah. And she knows she's gonna die. And of course, that's what happens. We find out a couple scenes later, they pull her body from the river, or under the bridge,
Miami River, whatever it is.
Yeah. So she bought it. She bought the farm. She bought it all. And so now they have to go after the son, because it's who basically, he's kind of a pusher at this point. And he says, hey, Costello says, you have to put a wire. You need to take we need to get your dad to admit that he basically killed her, because they have nothing on the dad so far. And
interesting thing here in this scene is besides the shot of it, just with the body and everything there, I thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah.
It's they all of them lament Crockett and Tubbs lament the fact that hey, the rich guy's got a great lawyer, got him off, now he's dead, now there's nothing tying it, and Castillo, and they're like, well, what do we do? Castillo, he just says, let him walk. He's like, what do you mean? And you can almost see where Crockett wants to punch the shove. And the best thing about Castillo that I've always liked as a character, because I know him pretty well, but I haven't watched this in a very long time, is I just like how Steely's resolve is, and how he doesn't raise his voice and get excited, which is unlike a lot of the characters that they're portrayed this way in a cop and where he works, right? His boss is always yelling and screaming, right? And Castillo's like, you let him walk. And then he says something else or whatever. But Castillo's basically forcing him to think about, what to do. And that's where they go to squeeze him to wear a wire and everything else here. And this the thing about Castillo is that he hasn't really fallen his character yet. He doesn't speak a lot. He really went very different for being the boss in this sort of copying. That's what makes it different from some of the 70s TV shows. And this Miami Vice intentionally tried to steer away from those kinds of things, which I think is interesting. And I still think it tried to fight very hard here in this first season to make it seem like we deal with legit things. We're a legit cop thing. We're not just a happy, hour a week entertainment kind of show. We want to try to show it's modernized. And it definitely feels that way. At this point, they feel like they've been on for a couple seasons. That's how crisp they are. It's really been that way for the past several episodes.
I want to point out that Nacho Libre's in the background watching them.
I know, right?
It's like, I didn't notice at first. It's like, go back the scene.
I keep
But
seeing this car. I don't know if that's a Chrysler there with because it looks like a 5-star there
oh,
on the right side, and the one before. I don't know if that was the Lincoln Continental,
it might be
but
a
I'm
Lincoln.
popping seeing all these older, big, wider cars
And
too with the
you
flat
want to
fronts.
you want to see more of those cars? You gotta watch The Wire.
I know, right?
Yeah, they have those cars in the Baltimore and the projects, and stuff. It's just I love them, pit mobiles, man.
So
But
Junior goes to see Senior at their really badass place or whatever. I got a really crappy print of it because I was just a picture because I was just wanting to show the two of them kind of confronting each other. And I thought this is a extremely lackluster ending, but you describe it in your words, and then we'll talk about it.
well, you sent me another photo for this. I don't have a photo of that.
Oh, I may not have.
Hold
I'll
on.
take a quick look.
I
But
just have
basically, the idea
yeah,
was that they were going to have him wear a wire, and so is he going to do it or not? Who knows? And
yeah.
so
Well, he doesn't want to do it, but eventually he goes talks to his dad, and then they're down at where his dad's having his little lunch thing. Basically, this scene here, another like this, where his dad's having it down by the docks and stuff, because they have a nice little waterfront mansion, and
this
so
is a
he
sick water crib. I just sent it to you.
yeah, pretty much beachfront property. And so he basically talks to his dad and stuff, and his dad wants him to take over the business and stuff. At least it's what he was trying to get him to do this stuff. He's trying to primp him, but the son wants nothing to do with it. And then he eventually slips, that he killed Mary after and that's when the police come in and pretty much bust him.
Which is fine. It could be anticlimactic. And so I went, oh, okay, they just did this episode different. That's fine.
It's like the Great McCarthy ending. It's pretty much that. It's a string operation. That's it. And then it kind of ends with that,
And I really don't mind it. What I didn't like was the whole family dynamic. I thought she did a good job until we found out halfway she was the go-between, right?
Yes.
She's the one keeping the family basically afloat. If you think of it, taking care of the son who's a junkie. You're right. She treated him nicely, but not overly nice, but whatever. And that was kind of interesting to me because she knows he's a sensitive soul. And the father here, actually, I think, despite how this is a different episode, has an interesting speech where he says, when I was young, I cut my knee, and my old dad's like slapped me because he says, we don't cry, you're a man, da da da. And it's that whole speech about men are tough, men don't cry, whatever, because that's how men were for the most part raised for a long time. And he goes, I know you were sensitive. He goes, you mean weak? And he's like, no, sensitive, like your mom. And he goes, there's nothing wrong with that. So it was interesting because the dad was not an asshole, I didn't think. And despite what he did for a living, whether it's illegal or not, if they had kind of had some interaction earlier on between the three of them, might have set this up to maybe make one of them look sympathetic. That might have been interesting, where like maybe the mom becomes the real asshole, and that's why the kid's doing drugs. Just something that goes opposite of what we normally would see, because
mother died, dad doesn't.
Yeah, the daddy doesn't love me, and the daddy has to spout the men don't cry, and you're a pussy,
as much as
therefore that's why you're doing drugs.
Hey,
and she has to do everything, and I had to have her killed.
As much as you don't like the whole daddy doesn't love me thing, that's 100% real.
I agree with you.
What
I'm saying is we don't really know what the intentions are here, so there's no like emotional stake to follow here, and that's why the most interesting thing is trying not to fall asleep while we're hearing synthwave while he's discovering a pallet full of coke, and then turn out the radio comes up, and then all of a sudden you shake your head and go, wait a minute, they're gonna have a big shootout, because it's just the pacing of it, right? And if they're gonna keep it very low key like this, that's fine, but give us something more with the family. This is just the family was the weak sauce here, the connections between the three.
Well, I guess so. This
bad, but still.
The thing, the reason this isn't as good as some of the episodes because Miami Vice becomes basically where Crockett and Tubbs are either going into Cuba or or traveling somewhere else.
They're going after the big fish.
Or they have there's people that are pretty much are being taken to use as scuba divers, basically like the people make deliveries for them. The scuba guys basically pick up the drugs for them, and then they kill the people. Basically, people are blackmailed, framed into basically delivering drugs. Well,
and let me kill them. Show you. I've only a couple seasons in, and I know you've watched it all, and I don't want any spoilers from you. But I've been watching the show occasionally on Bosch. I think I'm on season 4 or whatever it is now. And so they have your big arc for the season for killer or this or that or whatever happens. But in the meta stuff, you see how the one guy that was the lawyer that becomes like city council becomes the mayor, and then you have the black guy become the chieftain that wants to run and
You
all
talking
this
about Lance
crazy-
Reddick?
Yeah, Louis Reddick. That's right. The
Lance.
actor, and he's also in.
He's in Wire.
Yeah, is he in The Wire?
He's the main guy in The Wire. He's the lieutenant of The Wire that McDermott has to, or
He was in Haven a little bit too. That's where I
Yeah.
knew him from, and of course John Wick. But that meta arc of like Bosch and his mother, being a street whore and all that. Okay, that doesn't wow me or impress me, but the fact that they kept that through several seasons and they advanced that a little bit, everyone. And if you don't think about it, you don't see it, right? So that's kind of interesting things here. And the problem with this is this guy was probably honestly, now Calderon was a big fucking deal, but we've already kind of forgotten about him. And this guy's had the biggest money stuff. And I thought this guy could have been an interesting character because despite the cocaine coming from in and out, you have to have somebody sitting down, doing the books, putting it down on paper, showing us how profitable. And we get the old school computer lady, with Sonny basically saying, hey, well, this shell corporation owns the building. Well, who owns the building? Well, come here. Let me show you. It's this, it's that, it's that, blah, blah. That's how they get the tip, right? So I like the detective stuff in this episode, and that's kind of cool, but it just lacked a little bit of punch to it where it was like almost tongue-in-cheek a little bit too. So it just didn't.
Here's the thing, though. It's like if they want to have another returning character, like, I mean, honestly, who are the big actors that we had? Lance Reddick. I mean, it was later on in the other shows, but I'm talking about in this series, you would have had Lance Henriksen. Sorry, I misspoke. He would have been a good returning heavy coming back and all. But they do this later on because you get Farina. Figure about it. He comes back in the series as a guy, basically, because they realize, okay, what you're talking about. Codone was the big guy in the first, the Brother's Keeper, which is split into 2 episodes. But after that, there hasn't really been a big threat to the boys or someone they can't handle. That's they brought in David. I think it's David Farina. Dennis Farina. Sorry.
Yep.
So I mean, so they're gonna bring him back in eventually. It's just that they are kind of. I think this first episode was kind of like a coasting or this Macy just to see they're feeling because what sticks. Remember, at this point, no one's really watched this season. At this point, it didn't pick up until reruns, as you previously stated. So they're kind of putting out feelers. This was kind of like, okay, let's just put an episode out. And man, I thought it was a good episode. Now I think it's a lot better than McCarthy, the Great McCarthy episode. I thought that was a snore, and maybe that's why the boat race episode didn't do so well on this channel for views. But I don't know.
What things happen? I mean, yeah.
But
Prime
yes, but do leave a like so I can become famous, okay, guys?
These you are your own stars.
People went inside. Yes, they did. Thank you, Vero. Thanks for attention.
No, but for Prime, to answer your question about explicit stuff or whatever, it's like, we decide what we're going to review. A lot of times we get feedback from the audience of, hey, they like Miami Vice, they like this or that. I'm an 80s guy, he's a 90s guy. We've got a kid that's in his 20s that I do some stuff with. And so what we do is we always watch an episode or whatever film we're going to talk about. We go live. We never intentionally talk, is it woke or not, like a woke meter. We never hate watch or like that. We say, hey, I think this worked because of this, that. I liked it. I usually rant about like food and clothes and 80s and 90s stuff that I see. I ask you stuff. We just kind of ad-lib it, really. We don't have a particular format when it comes to that. Now, when I'm working with Professor Pixel, the young 20-something, we sometimes go scene by scene and discuss it. And he's somebody that is in his 20s. It's interesting. We do Columbo. We've done Twin Peaks. We've done a bunch of stuff. We'll probably get to Millennium X-Files and a bunch of others later on, too. But we've always loved Miami Vice. It's one of my favorite shows of the 80s. I know you're a big fan of it. I know you're a couple seasons into it now. It's been very enjoyable, Miami Vice.
Honestly, I don't like to go too in depth in these episodes because I don't want to spoil everything for people. I want people to actually go watch it. These are free to watch at Tubi right now. Tubi TV. For those of you who don't have the money to go and buy it, either physical copies or go through to streaming websites, go to Tubi TV. They have so much good stuff. Miami Vice finally came back on a couple months ago. That's why we decided to do this review finally, the season review, Yeah, I don't like the show except a lot of in-depth stuff because of that. I want you guys to experience it, raw for the first time. And if you're watching this and we've spoken a few things, we apologize, but you probably shouldn't watch a TV show review of something you've never seen before.
Well, the way I look at it is, we're not going to tell you you're smart, you're stupid, or we're right. Everyone's got their own opinions. We like to do martial arts movies, go through our phases, right? We got a worldwide audience with a lot of different countries that have, come live when we do things. And
Mhm.
what I think is interesting is I just try to explain it from like me being a teenager in the 80s, my perspective on how things go. So
Yeah, he's
when
old.
we do movies in the 70s and 60s and all that, I'll sometimes like ran about the phones that I see in Colombo because they use this one green old school phone to kill people like in a couple of
Dude.
episodes, and they're heavy. And if you've never felt one like that before,
Well,
it's kind of
same here.
yeah.
When we reviewed their Chuck Norris movies, I love Chuck Norris, but man, do I love like everything, the background scenes, the payphones, man. I love seeing public payphones and everything. The Wire has public payphones they use and beepers they're using
Oh
throughout
yeah,
this.
yeah, yeah.
Oh, it's fantastic, and just everything. I love this, the Crown Vics, the car still.
Yep.
It's just a lot of cool stuff here. Yeah, Miami Vice, same thing. I like seeing the corded phones, the wall
Mhm.
phones, and you start seeing the pop up of the giant cell phones with the brick you see in
The analog watches.
yeah, Wall Street. Yeah, I love those. Yeah, and yeah. The Casios, the Timex started showing up. Those wristwatches stuff.
Yep.
Just I love all that cool stuff. All the products you don't see anymore today. It's because them either changed the design or they faded away. Whether it's you're talking about Barbasol, you know,
Barbasol.
yeah, I know, right?
I mean, I haven't seen Aquanet yet, but I'm sure.
No, but I mean, like Brute is another one.
Oh,
That was huge. I don't care. It was huge though. And it's just all that. So the Remington, and all those different shaver stuff. You especially see that, and I think it's like the second or third episode. I think it is, where you have Crockett opens up where he's shaving, and they're listening. They're listening on the audio or
Yeah.
the wire, the hit type they have.
Mm-hmm.
And just fantastic. So I said I love about the 80s stuff is the fact is that if you did not grow up in the 80s, or even if you grew up in the 90s, and you'll know that a lot of this stuff that's in the show and it's just props and stuff is gone. There's a lot of stuff that's gone. A lot of TV shows, a lot of just in general products.
It's not a sitcom where it's basically
No.
live audience.
No.
These kinds of
Looking
shows.
at the old cereal boxes and stuff that they show them in here, anything like that. Cars in general have just become. Everyone has a Fisher Price car now. They're all crossovers.
The last thing I'll say, RDV, and I've not really said it, but I just think it's obvious, and maybe it's so obvious I haven't said it, so I'll just share it with everybody listening, is that the more you listen to us, the more you'll know what I like and don't like. And so you can go, oh, I'll like it because he likes this and I like that. Or same thing with, RDV, because we'll definitely disagree on some stuff and have some hot takes. But the thing really is that we just talk about what's entertaining to us and what it works. And it's the interesting thing about it. The more you get to know how we go about reviewing things, the more you might be interested in certain things we have to review. I love horror movies. You don't. We both love action. You and I mostly do that, right? Pixel and I like doing some of the campy kind of stuff there too, but he'll do some of the horror stuff with me. So, it's pretty interesting. I enjoy what we do. We've got a big backlog there too. So take a look at anything there. If you have any suggestions of films that you'd like us to take a look at, it's fine. I've seen all the explicit stuff that's out there from the 60s and 70s and all that. RDV, I know you have not necessarily, and that's by choice, and that's fine. I totally
here's the thing. It's like, do we want to be the movie horror channel? I'm sure, because you could do a lot of horror stuff, slasher stuff. I don't mind that stuff. To me, it's like every paranormal movie is the exact same paranormal movie. They've all become cookie cutters. I would say after The Exorcist, why watch anything else?
Because there's good stuff out there.
Paranormal Activity 12, 15.
You know what? That's the model to be a successful business. That Blumhouse stuff, low budget, decent script. Boom.
Oh yeah, don't get me started on Blumhouse, The Invisible Man.
Great movie. Very feminist.
I agree. It's very feminist, but I don't say a great movie. I'd say it's about average D movie.
Well, what makes a movie great is the question.
Well,
not because you're entertained.
When you're trying not to indoctrinate the you actually
everything is indoctrination, sir.
When you respect the audience and understand that they are smart, you don't let dumb things down for them. Now, if you're doing a kid show, that's one thing. But if it's supposed to be a more aimed towards adults, it's a horror movie, you don't write it like it's aimed for 5-year-olds. The plot.
You thought The Invisible Man was?
Yeah. The Invisible Man was all about...
You're talking the recent one, right?
Yes, the most recent one about a woman who basically was abused by her husband or boyfriend, whatever, kept her hostage. And one day she discovers that he has an invisible suit. He's been terrorizing the whole entire time.
Yeah, gaslighting, bro.
And I was like, oh my gosh, it's another abusive relationship where the woman has to fight back and I was like, come on. It's like, and then nobody believes her. I was like, oh my freaking god. She could just, all she had to do was just type in CP on his computer and he'd be in jail.
Well, some of us reviewed Invisible Man. I don't know if you and I did. I think I did. Maybe I don't know.
The Invisible, no, the original, the only good Invisible Man, other than the TV series, like 2000, was the one from back in Universal.
You don't like Hollow Man?
Hollow Man was okay. Hollow Man was a much more violent version of the original, but it became more about him being obsessed with his ex-girlfriend who worked with him. Instead, it was a team thing. Remember? Instead of being just one man. Yeah.
Instead of being adults, everything turned teens, and now we're all babies in TV.
No, team, TAM. Everything's all about teams, So and he's just Rona Mitra topless was probably the best thing in that part of that movie. But
there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Miami Vice Season 1, Episode 11. Join us next week the same time, 7 p.m. Eastern, Sunday night for Season 1, Episode 12. That's got Skanky from Forever Night, a.k.a. if you know the 80s. He's a janitor.
Is it Shanky or is it Skanky?
It's Skanky.
Because I've heard people complain about you guys going on.
Skanky.
Okay.
Right? It might be spelled Shanky.
Shanky.
It sounds Polish, right? Or Armenian or something. I think it's Greek, actually, because the actor's Greek.
There's a reason they call it. The reason his name is written down as Shanky because they had your boy over there. You had Sean Connery was speaking to them, and he's like, "Oh, it's Shanky."
All right. Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Tuesday night live.
Tuesday night live. We'll do something. Hey, maybe we'll just stick to that time slot because that did pretty well.
Assassins. We just did. So the specialist we were looking at doing.
Yep.
We're keeping with the Miami thing for now. Good night now.
Later.